This is Trek Coach live from Noosa, and very excited to be here today with Norbu, who's visiting all the way from Paro in Bhutan, where he runs his own tour business called Bespoke Bhutan Tours. He takes people on trekking tours and cultural tours and has done so for many years. I was very fortunate to meet Norbu and excited to chat with him about his experiences in the mountains, and look forward to seeing him actually in Paro next year when I'm there to do the Shamalari Base Camp trek. So welcome Norbu, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much. In fact, I'm fortunate to meet you all, talk something about Bhutan and something about my own travel company. In fact, I'm privileged to meet you all.
Thank you Norbu. You've done a lot of treks in Bhutan. And you met Heather, who we're going to chat with later, many years ago, and I know you've taken her on many of the treks in the mountains. What for you would you say is your favorite trek in Bhutan?
Every treks in Bhutan are very special, and I have been with Heather for 8 different types of trek, and every trek that I did with them is special. So particularly this year, this coming October, we are doing Gangkar Pinsum trek, which is one of the most beautiful. And it doesn't mean that other treks are boring. It is beautiful, but they are all designed in a different location, different views of Himalayas. So we are going for 10 nights, 11 days trek, Gangkar Pinsum, and this is one of the trek that I like it very much because of less people have visited there. And maybe I had a best weather last year, so I preferred going again this year. And the treks in Bhutan is not like in any other countries, like where you have a house that is set up for the people to sleep on it. But trekking in Bhutan could be new, you're fresh, the tent is freshly set up with your crew, everything is freshly done. So that could be the different thing than sleeping in a home or house in a campsite. So I felt like this is quite different from any other trek in the world.
Beautiful. I'll have to put that one on my list. You mentioned that there's often some scary weather that happens in the mountains in Bhutan. Over the years, you've had some challenges out there, as we do when we go out into the wilderness. Can you think of a time when you were out in the mountains that was a scary time for you, or one of the scariest situations that you've had to deal with?
Every trek that I need to be very careful because you are climbing 4,000 above meters, and yes, my scariest on a trek is in the year 2013 when we did the snowman trek, where we had a blizzard for 3 days, avalanches in front of us, and horses, my animals, pack of animals, without the food for few days, has been one of my scariest trek that I have ever done in my lifetime. That was the time that I knew the importance of a family, importance of a life, importance of a glass of water. So that was the time. So
it's a very life-changing time when you go through a difficult challenge in the wilderness, because it becomes about survival, doesn't it?
It teaches you about the importance of it. It teaches about it because I have never felt that life would be so precious. At the end of the day, it says simply how the beauty of our Mother Earth is, the beauty of our nature.
Yes, that's gorgeous. And you mentioned that many of the treks that you take in the Bhutan are at altitude. How do you help your clients to manage the effects of altitude? Because for some people, they may experience some of the symptoms of altitude sickness. And often what we see in my experience is that sometimes even the fittest people will be affected by altitude. So how do you help them to manage that?
Altitude does not know anybody else. Whether you live in the mountain or whether you are coming below sea level, so does not know. The altitude can affect to anybody else. Keep hydrated all the time. Walk in your own pace. Climb gradually. can you please wait for other group every 1.5 hour you walk, so that I make sure everybody enjoy the track, enjoy the walk, and I tell something about the track, so that they just, it's not just waiting for me or waiting for somebody, but they are also listening something, trying to give a hint on, so that they can distract of the track or walk or hiking they do. So I just try to tell something different, maybe funny jokes, maybe mixing little bit of maybe bullshit, or maybe not exactly bullshit, but yes, something like that. They can just entertain, so that they can enjoy their trekking.
Beautiful. What do you love about what you do, taking people out into the mountains? What is it that you love about that experience?
They are enjoying the country with the foot, not just driving and flying on the top, but they are enjoying the country scenery with their own foot. And you are experiencing one of the highest elevated villages, schools that not many visitors have seen it. So this is the advantage. If you're taking a hardship, you are always rewarded,
Yes.
So if you're going on that kind of things, means you are seeing, you are feeling it out with your own naked eye, or people living that, or they are having that kind of food, or the culture, the dress, the uniform, so they would know everything by their own naked eye. Because sometimes I think we have a saying, seeing is believing. So they see with their eye, and then they start to believe and come to know what the hardship means, who are living in the higher Himalayas.
Lovely. And when we were talking the other night about you as a child growing up in Bhutan, can you tell us a bit about what it was like? Because you'd mentioned to me that you had a few hours walk to school each day, and how did you manage that?
Okay, I say I'm fortunate to born in one of the most countryside of Bhutan, where I have walked for 7 kilometers to school one way.
Wow.
And of course now it's connected with the road, but when I was studying in that school, we had to walk for 7 kilometers one way, means 7 kilometers you're going back. So, and again, I'm fortunate to tell you that I do trekking and camping and hiking in the high Himalayas and a higher altitude, because I believe that I have already trained when I was young, when I was like 13, 14 years or 12 years,
Yeah.
because I have been going to school. So since, I should say I'm lucky, because I am the first person of my family to get an education, and I'm proud to say that I'm here with you all talking. Otherwise I would be in my village looking after cows, or maybe, but of course it doesn't mean it bad, but they're doing good. So maybe like when I was young, I was going to school, and often my mother, okay, Norbu, you may get tired, get a little bit of Ara. Ara is again a locally brewed wine, but it doesn't mean that I was drunk, but just to gain the energy. So I was just drinking, okay. Then my mom would pet me, and then Norbu, okay, go to school. But nobody was knowing exactly whether I was schooling or going for studies, because nobody was there to tell, homeworks or anything else, because what I learned in the daytime, that was the school that I did. And yes, maybe by the time you get back home again, you're totally exhausted.
Wow.
You're finished. And maybe my mother, I have a huge family, we get together, my mother would pour me a bit of sake, or like maybe Japanese, kind of similar to Japanese wine. So we drink a little bit of it, and you're relieved for your pain and just go snore it. So, yeah.
Oh, love. What kind of food do you think we should expect to eat when we're over in Bhutan? What are the favorite dishes that you serve your guests?
You will be served with a Bhutanese national dish that includes with cheese and chili,
Oh,
red rice, white rice, plenty of fresh vegetables, but also for your breakfast, so that we try to maintain everything balanced, so that you can have like a toasted bread, potato chips. Yes, my favorite in Australia is fish and chip, fish and chip that I like the most. But we have may not be fish, but chips definitely. The potato chips, fresh potato chips. So we are going to make that, and then the omelette, milk, porridge, everything will be served. But most of the time, you will be served with the varieties of fresh vegetables along with red rice.
What do your family think about all the treks that you take on in the mountains?
They understand that I love being with the people, and personally I feel privileged. I take a tremendous privilege to just go to the mountain or tell that, oh, this is the mountain that I went there. Especially if some people have not hiked or trekked to that mountain, I would say, okay, that is the mountain I went with Heather, and that's the mountain I went with Lisa. So I have many stories to tell about it. And when they understand that it's difficult climbing to a mountain, but they understand it's what I want to do. I feel going to the mountains, I feel privileged sharing how the beauty of a nature to my guests, to my visitors, saying that, okay, so this is still unspoiled mountain. All the mountains, most of the mountains are virgin. Nobody have climbed to the top of the mountain. I can proudly say that, okay, this mountain in Bhutan is very fresh. In the sense, nobody have climbed the mountain to this places. So I will proudly say that. So I enjoy my job. I love what I'm doing.
That's beautiful. There's very few people that can say that, so it's wonderful that you found your passion and that you love sharing that with people and that your family support you with that. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned when you've been out in the wilderness?
Even the glass of water is very important, and you feel the importance of everything when you have that kind of it. For example, I'll keep a simple example. Like we had a satellite phone in 2013 when we did the trek. But when I describe the hardship of a trek, it's not all the treks are very hard like what I'm describing. I'm just describing about one of the trek that I personally had a challenges. So I'm just telling that one. So the satellite phone could not work. So if the satellite phone has to work, it has to be like weather has to be clear, no snow, no blizzard, then satellite phone work. So these are the things that this is one of the experience that I got it. So what it means, when you are there, everything is important. It teaches you the value of life.
How do you manage the time away? Because you must spend a lot of time away from your family. When you come back home and you're with your children, what do you do with them? What kind of activities do you spend your time doing with your children?
Okay, I teach my children value of things, not the value of prizes or anything else, but I take them to a village to show them what the value, the hardship our grandparents are taking. Of course, they are fortunate maybe because I just did learn it.
Yes.
But come back to our grandparents. Hardship, hardcore they are doing for the daily life to earn a single penny. So why every time I get free time, I take my children to village, mingle them with the children there in the village, make them to look after cow, horses, go to a field. So this is something that they have to learn, so this is what I do, so not just simply everything is put in front of them, but make them learn that this is how it happens. Of course, I do take them sometime for trekking. The recent one I did with my family, who is 9 years old, my eldest son, and my second daughter is 7 years old. I took them for a trek for 1 day, 1 night camping, so that I was just simply trying to tell them that this is what the nature is. You can see how beautiful it is. Because we never know after 10, 20, 30, 40 years whether it can going to exist or not. So this is what I do usually with my family.
Lovely. Thank you, Norbu. Lastly, what are your top 3 places that you would tell people they should definitely see when they're in Bhutan?
Okay, if you are in Bhutan, if you're not hiking to the tiger's nest, I don't think you have visited Bhutan. So, Tiger's Nest is wonders of Bhutan, and it is the imprint of religion in our country. Sometimes when I have a guest, if I don't take my guest to Tiger's Nest, I feel like, what? Did they did that? No, I have to take it by any means. So I feel like first thing is Tiger's Nest, followed by Punakha. The Zong is a fortress, which is a government office. Every fort would divide it into two parts. Of course, in olden times, in 17th century, it was for the defensive, for the military invention that we had from different parts of neighboring countries. But now it's a government office divided into two parts, monastic and the administrations. So I was saying Punakha Zong is one of the example of architecture. I'm sure you love it. You have to visit this. It's such a beautiful place to visit it. And still you can see how our houses, architectures came out. And if you visit Punakha Zong, you will come to know it. So this is the second one. And of course, every monasteries, zongs that you visit is a beautiful. And Thimphu, Paro, Punakha are the three most beautiful places. But it does not mean that other parts are bad. They are all beautiful, but I understand that most of our visitors, they do not have enough time to spend more days, but they have like a beautiful example architecture in Tongsa Zong.
Okay, wonderful. I look forward to seeing all of those places.
I would love to see you. I would love to take you all around and tell lots of things, because if I just start describing the country, architecture, religion, I think we may just spend and feel we may snow it out here. So we'll just try to summarize it and just tell a little bit about it.
Isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Norbu, that's wonderful. And one of the things I just wanted to touch on lastly is that when Westerners think of Bhutan, we understand that it's meant to be one of the places in the world where people are so-called happy or happiest. And I just wondered for you, how do you see that playing out in everyday life in Bhutan? How do you integrate happiness into your life or make it something that just happens, I guess?
Okay, happiness where happiness we want, everybody wants happiness. So my happiness, as I said, your happiness is different. Okay, example, my happiness to give a best talk out here and tell about, okay, my travel company. If I get a good clients, good guest, that's my happiness. Other happiness, for taxi driver, happiness would be have a good passenger. If he got a good passenger, he's happy. So his happiness. So the happiness in Bhutan would be, firstly, I'll just tell you about it. The happiness would be like, for example, as a country, having our own culture, traditions. Like we are helping your family is the most important. Getting together, helping to the grandparents, trying to do not ignore it. Which every family members would be trying to keep it together. We don't have like a shelter home for old age or anything else. So I think this is what every family try to get together, and respect, decorum. These are the things. When every people have that kind of things. In individuals, nobody is forcing, but it's when everybody does that, have been doing heritagely. So I think this is what the happiness means. But coming to Bhutan, like I think you may be talking about gross national happiness in a country where the country is trying to have like preservation of culture and tradition, custom, and good government, balanced socio-economic development. So all these things, the government is trying to make people's participation.
Thank you, Norbu.
Welcome.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing you when I visit Paro next year, and also just letting people know more about your business. So I know you've got a website, Bespoke Bhutan Tours.com, and a Facebook page, so that's where people can follow you and find out about your tours.
I am greatly looking forward. I think I have met lots of people, and it's such an honor to meet you and talk to you. And I would always welcome you, all of you, to Bhutan. And if you book through Bespoke Bhutan Tours, I'll be the first person to see Bhutanese man waiting for you in the airport.
Thank you, Norbu.
Thank you so much, and yes, Tashidele.